All right, Stefan Hartmann here, Iron Direct Primary Care, and my mom Lynne Hartmann has returned for a new video on attachment parenting. And attachment parenting, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with it, and you you figured this out a long time ago before maybe it was on anyone's radar, and it's still not on anyone's radar. So how did you really learn about this attachment parenting?
Well, we were into health food. This is a video you discussed with your dad that we were macrobiotic. And in the macrobiotic theory, you had to have natural childbirth. So I didn't know what attachment parenting was, but I knew that if you had an IV and it would have salt in it, that would be too yang. If you had to take drugs during birth, that would be too yin. If you wanted everything to be as natural as possible. If there was glucose in an IV, that would be way too yin. You wouldn't want any of that. So I made a list of things that I wanted from the
midwife?
The midwife or an OB. And first we went to a midwife group. And the midwife group, this was in 1991. They wanted $2,000 for the birth, which I know doesn't sound much like now, but that was our co-payment, and it just sounded too steep for us because they weren't actually doctors. My mom had had 4 C-sections. I was the first of my sisters to give birth. For all I knew, I was actually going to have a problem. So I decided to find an OB in Fort Worth who would stick by my rules for giving birth. And those rules were, let's see, no IV, and I didn't want an episiotomy, and I wanted to give birth naturally and no epidural, and I wanted to find an OB that could help me avoid all that. So I went through the phone book and I was calling OBs in Fort Worth, and I would very bluntly say, "What are your statistics? How many of your births need episiotomies? How many C-sections do you end up having?" And as you can imagine, these phone calls were really short. They said, "Doesn't sound like our practice is for you." So I don't know, a couple calls later, I came across a Dr. Kolar, and fortunately, she and her nurses found me amusing. Dr. Kolar did ask, she said, "Well, if we don't give you an IV, what if you need surgery?" And I was like, "You insert the IV, right?" And she agreed, not to have a C-section unless she thought somebody was going to die. So I was on board with that.
So how was natural childbirth?
Yeah,
with me.
it was fine. It was a little long. My periods had always been really bad. So for me, the contractions were not as bad as periods, because when you have your period, the pain is just constant. But when you're giving birth, you have a contraction and it hurts, and then there's no pain. And it does come back. And when it came back, your dad massaged my back. I even had some bruises on my back afterwards. There was so much massaging. I did take a half an extra strength Tylenol about 4 times over the 7 hours, 7 or 8 hours, and I chewed on it because I wanted to work fast. I was having a little tea, and I thought that took the edge off. It was fine. I mean, it's going to hurt a bit, but in that way you don't have all those drugs making the baby puke. All the drugs are going to make the breast milk sour, and the baby will puke a lot. And you want to start feeding the baby, as soon as the baby comes out.
And you wanted to make a comment about media and movies and how they portray childbirth.
Oh yeah. In movies, I mean, this is for sure. The actress screams her head off during childbirth, and if you ever go to a hospital, nobody's screaming. I remember once my nephew Eric was being born at Hillcrest Hospital, and I was waiting for him, and there was one woman who was screaming, and I asked the nurses, and they rolled their eyes and said, "Oh, that was a teenager. She was misbehaving," because usually there's no screaming. And in movies, they scream the most while they're pushing, right? It's so dramatic. The OB's yelling, "Push, push," as if the woman doesn't know how to do this. What? I mean, if you didn't know to push, what would you be pushing? I mean, you wouldn't even know how to do it. I mean, I guess in my experience. So in natural childbirth, at least for me, you, as you're having a contraction and your cervix is wide enough, I suppose, when you push, the pain disappears, and so you push. So it's a combination of instinct with lack of pain. So if you're going to be screaming during the pushing process, would be the last time you'd be screaming. It feels good at that point to get the baby out. Oh, that was my experience. Oh, and after you give birth, they hand you the baby and you put him to the breast and he chomps down. Now the moment, now in a movie, there's no screaming at that point. The women are just crying and they're happy. But in reality, when the baby chomps down, it releases some hormone that gets the uterus to contract, and the pain is the same as childbirth. And you notice in the movies, nobody screams at that point because I guess that wouldn't really follow the plot.
Cool.
Yeah. Don't trust movies for birthing advice. Where am I?
Let's see. Oh, how did you find co-sleeping?
Oh, so after you were out, they put you in another story. I allowed them to give you something like a vitamin K shot, and oh my gosh, you screamed your head off. And they had said it was important, and after that, I didn't do any of that with any of my babies afterwards. I could just see that wasn't natural, that wasn't right. So you were screaming, but after a while you calmed down, and if I held you or put you in bed with me, you didn't scream. And if I put you in the bassinet at the hospital, you screamed. And it was horrible, the sound echoing off the walls, and I was really tired, so I kept you with me, and you didn't scream. So I thought I had invented co-sleeping. So when we got home, we put the mattress on the floor and we put you in bed with me. You never spent a moment in the crib that I had painted and prepared. And I had never heard anybody talk about sleeping with a baby ever. And so I was nervous with you under my arm. So during the night, I must have been inching away from you. And in the morning, I was completely on the other side of the king-size bed, and you had followed me, and your nose was still in my armpit. So a newborn had chased his mother across a king-size bed.
Wow.
And it just occurred to me, it was like, of course he's supposed to be in bed with me. This is obviously correct. I didn't squish him. I think if any woman has ever actually squished her baby, I would think she was on drugs or alcohol, because no mammals squish their babies. They just don't do it. They have an instinct, and it's nice sleeping up against a little baby.
Okay. Let's see. And were you able to sleep?
It was great. It was great. You always hear people saying that they're not getting any sleep, and that having a baby means you don't sleep, and people are fuzzy in the head, and it's so stressful. You have the baby in the bed with you, and when Stefan got hungry, he'd wiggle a little, and so then I would just roll over. I didn't sit up. I just rolled over and gave him the breast, and then he'd fall back asleep, and I'd go back asleep. Thomas was never woken up. You know how they say, well, you get up to see the baby, and the baby's in some other part of the house, and people walk to some other part of the house where the baby's screaming. How would they thought we've ever evolved that way? If back in any prior time before there was fancy housing, if the baby was left in a different cave or off in the grass or in a different branch, that baby would have been eaten by a predator by morning.
Yeah. So
you know that must naturally create a lot of anxiety for the baby to be separated from the mother, not feeling her, and if he's feeling her, he feels safe. I mean, the idea that the baby doesn't know it's alone, and that we're naturally could not have anxiety in such a situation, that doesn't make any sense.
And how did you find out that other people knew about co-sleeping?
Oh, a couple weeks after you were born, I went to Whole Foods with you, back when we were buying brown rice and tofu, and I saw this magazine out of the corner of my eye, and it was called Mothering Magazine, and it just had all these topics I was living. It discussed attachment parenting, co-sleeping, happy, healthy babies. So I got a subscription to the magazine, and I found out that I had not invented co-sleeping. That there was a movement of moms in the United States who were into natural childbirth and a lot of other ways. I mean, they weren't macrobiotic, but a lot of different ways to raise children naturally. To hopefully avoid a lot of future problems.
So what are some of the premises of attachment parenting?
Let's see. Okay, so we've discussed, I mean, I'm not an expert on Mothering Magazine, but I did have a subscription. Mothering Magazine was about what we've discussed, natural childbirth and co-sleeping, and then it was against vaccinations. I wasn't gonna vaccinate my children because we were macrobiotic anyway. I haven't had a vaccine since the 1960s, and yeah, I'm fine. I did end up vaccinating my kids right before they entered college because, I mean, you don't want any problems with them getting their degree, but I avoided it before that. Let's see, what else did they, what are the, let me see, play, which I really appreciated. I didn't really hadn't thought about it much. I know how much I had enjoyed play as a child. You want the child to play naturally, playing in the dirt with water, learning physics, and watching ants would be superior to watching a video or watching television. Well, I guess it was highly educational, but they wouldn't even discuss that in the magazine. Or in the attachment parenting movement, you want the kids to play as much as possible because they're dreaming when they're awake. They're not doing what we're doing. They're in this play world, and you don't want to disrupt that. You want to let them do as much as possible to develop their creativity. But that said, the mothers I met who were into attachment parenting very much wanted to guide the play. I knew one mom who spoke to her child in Latin because her husband was a professor and he needed Latin for his job, and it was great.
Wow.
The child responded. You know, you can play chess with them and puzzles, and you can talk about science with whatever you're doing, so they can still learn a lot through play. That we call that guided play.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? Oh, cloth diapers. Mothering Magazine was very much into cloth diapers. They didn't like, I guess it was the plastic or the chemicals against the child's skin. So I did purchase all these expensive cloth diapers. I put it on Stefan. Boop, it just leaks. There's no elastic on the side. I bought everything they had. It didn't work, so I didn't follow that. We did use the disposable.
Modern technology works for diapers.
It works great. Oh, and Mothering Magazine was also about very gently teaching the child to use the potty without things like sugar, talking them into...
bribing them with sugar.
Sugar, yeah. Oh, and nursing on demand. We haven't just talked about that. Very, very big that in attachment parenting, the child's attached to you as much as they want to be, which can be a lot, and when they squawk, you give them the breast. When they're old enough to speak, you can give it a nickname. You used to call it Baba, so people don't know what you're saying. You give them the breast, and you do that until they don't want it anymore.
And some people might be shocked how long you breastfed us.
It was a long time. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there was a character who did that in Game of Thrones. He was bad.
Oh, I wasn't that old.
No, you were not that old, but the idea was that, they'll never stop nursing. Yeah. I got a kick out of that character. That was funny.
Yeah. So what are some criticisms you've heard about attachment parenting?
I remember once at the Whole Foods market, an old man walked up to me and he said, "Oh, if you give him so much attention, he'll always want so much attention." I was like, all right, fine with me. But actually, I've never met a healthy child who didn't get independent as he got older, because all the kids go through puberty and then want to head out on their own. I mean, I haven't noticed that they do not continue to become independent just because they experienced attachment parenting. They're very confident, I think, actually. Yeah. Oh, another criticism was, your Aunt Carol used to call you my little parasite.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. How can you do attachment parenting if there's a divorce? Oh, that's a very sad situation. A child has a full set of teeth at age 1, so by then a child can be eating his own chicken, and I mean it wouldn't be that traumatic on the child for the dad to take the child. I mean it's not the best situation. So if the kid's just gone for a couple hours, a mom can just nurse in the evening. If a mom has to work, when she gets home from work, she can nurse then. It will work that way. The breast milk can come in just in the evening, and it'll be a special time.
You can always also pump. A lot of women will do that. Store it in the fridge.
Yeah, I don't know. I never tried pumping.
I never did that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess if it works, it wouldn't be quite the same as nursing, but
Get it done.
yeah, they could pump. Yeah.
And what is the dad's role in attachment parenting?
Well, the child definitely has a relationship with the breast. It's like a whole nother person. Child has a relationship with the mother, but this love of the breast, it's beautiful. You want that child to have it. What's the dad's role? Well, the dad can carry the child. They love that. Play with the child, talk to the child. If the dad speaks a foreign language and speaks to the child in that language, the child will learn the language. So yeah, the mom is really important during the attachment parenting phase, but the dad is too.
And siblings, I guess I helped a lot with Belle. I would carry her around in the papoose. I'd attach her to this harness.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And I'd carry her around a lot.
That's right. I remember I allowed you all to watch SpongeBob in German if you would carry Belle, because when she was teething, she was very agitated. As the teeth come through, it's quite a bit of complaining. But if you carried her, she didn't complain.
She didn't complain. Yeah, we'd watch SpongeBob for a couple hours a night.
With her attached with the in the pouch.
In the pouch thing.
It was great having older siblings helping.
Yeah, I changed the diapers. A lot of those.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I'd be able to head out and go shopping in Malo while you all were watching her.
Yep.
Loved it. Yeah.
That was great. Looks like we covered pretty much everything we wanted to.
Yeah, I'll bet there is more on attachment parenting. I did join a group. I had the magazine, but it's a very in-depth topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that it's very helpful for many moms out there.
I hope so. Natural sure works well, other than the diapers.
The diapers, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks for watching.